Ubisoft announced a ton of brand new Assassin's Creed titles during an Assassin's Creed showcase as part of their Ubisoft Forward stream. Yes, including one in feudal Japan. I also quickly want to touch on the last chapter for Valhalla that was revealed. We learned more about what Assassin's Creed Infinity is supposed to be, so really a ton to go over. So if you are curious or excited about the future of Assassin's Creed, then don't leave a like on the video to show your support, subscribe for everything on the franchise, and let's go. I want to start with, I think, my favorite announcement during the stream, and that is that Ubisoft Quebec, the creators behind Odyssey and of course more recently Immortals, are making an open world RPG Assassin's Creed game in feudal Japan, internally called Codename Hexe. We only got this small teaser where we see an assassin jump on a Japanese building with a sword and hidden blade. It should be set between Assassin's Creed 1 and AZ2, and they describe it as a powerful shinobi fantasy, so probably more focused on ninjas than samurais, even though it should of course be set around the same time as Ghost of Tsushima. Not much else is known, although I think we can probably guess that it will be a lot like Odyssey with deep RPG mechanics. I can't tell if this is like a male or female, but we will likely have a choice again, and I also would not be surprised if the dialogue choices are back and play a more significant part. Overall, it's good to know that while Assassin's Creed Mirage will be way more like the older Assassin's Creed titles, focused on stealth with limited stats and upgrades, Ubisoft isn't done with the Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla type games either. It was noted that Codename Hexe will be the future of this type of Assassin's Creed genre, with likely Japanese mythology playing a big role, and I can see them support this game for a really long time after launch. Now, Ubisoft did not confirm a release window yet, but rumors suggest that this one is planned for 2024. And by the way, real quick, Mirage got the big spotlight during the Assassin's Creed showcase, and I already did a separate video going over the trailer and a ton of details I learned from my interview. It should be up on the channel, and I will also leave a link to it at the end of this one. Because here I want to discuss more new Assassin's Creed projects they revealed. The veteran team behind Assassin's Creed Valhalla is namely also developing a new flagship title that should be a very different type of Assassin's Creed game. We also got a teaser for this. We are deep in the woods. We hear hounds bark, see fire underneath from the looks of it, and then the Assassin's Creed logo in branches. This is Codename Hexe, and while Ubisoft did not confirm anything themselves about the setting, Hexe in Germany is the word for witch, with reports before the reveal noting that this probably takes place during the witch trials in the Holy Roman Empire in Germany, Switzerland and Austria. Your theories are of course more than welcome in the comments down below, but it seems to be around the 16th century. But the fact that Ubisoft mentioned 2 separate times that it's a very different type of experience has me the most curious. So it's not an action-adventure game or an open-world RPG. Horror would of course fit the setting really well, but I don't think that's what it will be. There is another rumor out there, but first, what is also interesting is that the start of this trailer and also for Codename Hexe has an animus loading screen, and I think this indicates that it's part of Assassin's Creed Infinity. Marc-Alexis Cote, who is the executive producer on the Assassin's Creed franchise, joined to share a few details. So first of all, Infinity is not a game, but it will be the single entry point into the Assassin's Creed franchise in the future, likely starting with Project Red. We can think of Infinity as our own animus that we can use to go to these different time periods. Infinity will be a hub that will unite all our different experience and also players together in meaningful ways. So it really sounds like the umbrella for a lot of different Assassin's Creed experiences moving forward beyond Mirage, including multiplayer, because Mark confirmed that they are investigating how to bring back a standalone multiplayer experiences, plural, in the AC universe, which then also should be connected to the Infinity Hub. And I think standalone is key here. It means that it's a separate experience from the single player adventure we're likely going to have in Codename Hexe. Although it could be that Hexe has some form of multiplayer, which would of course make it a very different type of experience. We namely have many insiders that correctly leaked the content of the show before it went live, and they noted that Project Hexe was recently changed from Project Neo. And before that we had Steven Totillo saying that he heard the Neo codename at one point in the context of an effort to bring multiplayer back to the series. So we don't know if Hexe is a multiplayer game, we at least know that they are working on multiplayer Assassin's Creed content one way or the other. We also got a reveal trailer for another new game, codename Jade. This is that mobile title we discussed countless of times on this channel. It's now officially announced and set in ancient China, 215 BCE. Yes, we can parkour across the Great Wall of China. This, by the way, captured in-engine. I think it looks pretty good, but also a lot like Odyssey, looking at the environment and the buildings, how the NPCs walk around in the world. We can, by the way, make our own character in this game, which of course is interesting, and we have dual daggers to use, a bow. I really think it will be an RPG like Odyssey, but then in China and on mobile. Could be interesting. I hope they really can deliver on it. We heard about this game more than 2 years ago, so it has been in development for quite some time, but we have no release indication yet. They also briefly touched on the live-action Netflix show, which was actually also announced almost 2 years ago at the end of 2020, but they did mention that it's still in early development. They talked about the showrunner, Jeb Stewart. I think he was already announced to direct the show, but I'm not entirely sure. He recently did Vikings Valhalla, so not a lot of extra info. As you might know, Netflix also has a game platform, and that's the only new info we got. Ubisoft announced that they're also making a new mobile game for that platform with no specifics. So Netflix will get Assassin's Creed TV and game content, but it still seems far away, and that's kind of the overall takeaway from this Assassin's Creed showcase. They got a lot, but we will still have to wait many years to see it release. Hence why we also only got a few teasers. So at the end of the showcase, they did reveal a roadmap, which nicely puts things into perspective. So this year we will still get the last chapter for Eivor's journey in Valhalla. We got a short trailer for this as well. It looks way bigger than I expected. It really seems to be like a story arc that takes place after the main story. So probably like 2 hours long. I think that could be really, really awesome. I want to go more in depth on this and other Valhalla stuff in a future video, because we know that there's of course more coming to Valhalla, but they did not show that here. Then in 2023 we get Mirage, again way more info in that big video that I will link to in a moment. And then they mentioned Codename Red as the first title on the horizon. Again, seems like this holiday 2024. And high chance that Ghost of Tsushima 2 launches around the same time. So that will be a very interesting battle. And after that, they mention Hexe, which according to rumors was first planned for 2025, but now 2026. And then they put the other projects on the roadmap as well. I personally think that Hexe is one of the final things we will actually see launch. So while they did share some answers, I still have many questions. Infinity always sounded really cool because it had multiple settings in one, but right now it really seems that we will only have Japan, and then 2 years later we get the next setting, unless they plan smaller standalone projects similar to Dawn of Ragnarok or Freedom Cry that will then release in between these two flagship titles. And yes, I gotta mention it, sadly no Assassin's Creed 1 remake. They still did use that more colorful, updated cinematic footage, but the project was not announced. I still think it will happen though, but yeah, likely later. Also the Origins crossover, I also still think that will happen. We just had too many hints. Also not announced here. They mentioned a couple of times that this was the first ever Assassin's Creed showcase, and we got a logo with the 2022 dates. I would not be surprised that it was a returning thing and that they will save some announcements for the future. We also know that the VR game is coming, but that was also not talked about. Really curious to hear your takes in the comments down below. Subscribe, of course, for everything on Assassin's Creed. A like on the video would really help me out. And while we likely won't hear about Red and Hexe for the foreseeable future, we do have a ton to talk about regarding Mirage. So totally check out my video by clicking on the screen, going over the trailer, sharing exclusive info, and I will of course speak to you maybe in that one or otherwise soon. Goodbye!